Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to TEDxNMIMS Mumbai for inviting me to speak here today. I am Kainaz Messman-Harchandrai, and nearly 15 years ago, we started a dessert shop. Today, we have created a brand that is much loved across the country. I'm here to tell you a little bit about my journey from student to chef to entrepreneur, my successes and my challenges. I hope to inspire you all to dream big and to work hard to achieve those dreams. I also want to tell you a little bit about the reality of life in business, urge you not to wait for the right time to start things in life. I started with passion, honesty, and a work ethic. Everything else I learned along the way. So I'll just give you a brief background about myself. At the age of 16, I had a wonderful opportunity to go to France, and it is here that I decided to become a chef. I went as a Rotary Youth Exchange student to a small town called Albi, which is south of Toulouse. When I was there, Albi did not have much going on. It had a small school, a park, a football field, one cinema, a few stray restaurants and cafes. But Albi did have very many patisseries and bakeries. And it is here that I fell in love with the idea of owning my own patisserie and bakery with strawberry tarts, and it's where I began my love affair with bread. I returned to India and joined a hotel management school and met a chef who taught me and inspired me and demanded excellence from me. Chef taught me to master the basics of cookery, focus on the foundation, not chase the fancy stuff. Chef taught me to never stop learning and be a student for life. I proceeded to the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development, and it was at the Oberoi that I turned from student to chef. At OCLD, we learned to do things the right way, the Oberoi way. It was the gold standard for everything. I dreamt of becoming a chef, and the Oberoi group of hotels served this dream to me on a platter. And for that, I will always be indebted to them. I was recovering from a back injury at home when my family started encouraging me to seek my own fame and fortune. I said I would think about it and put it at the back of my head because I'm not entrepreneurial by nature. But the nostalgia of what I had lived with in France grew on me, and soon the seed that was planted when I was an exchange student gained momentum, and I guess we were on our way. We started nearly 15 years ago knowing how to bake cakes and little else. But running and growing a business is not easy. In fact, it is anything but. When we started, we did not have a business plan. We didn't know if we were going to recover the money that we were putting in. We just wanted a small shop that baked and sold the things that we ourselves like to eat. In hindsight, starting the business was actually the easy part. They say ignorance is bliss. Had I known how difficult the path ahead for me was going to be, I might have never embarked on this journey. When I was in hotels, I was used to making one product at a time in an air-conditioned environment with great equipment, unrestricted access to ingredients and resources. By comparison, my first kitchen was my grandmother's old apartment. The floor was so slippery that every day someone or the other was falling on it. Her dining room became my hot kitchen. Her corridor, which was the tiniest and the slimmest part of the house and the only part that we could afford to air condition, became our chocolate and pastry room. And her bedroom became my storeroom. We had to pay to get water every day to fill in our 2 overhead tanks because the landlord cut off our water supply. And in the early days, we could not increase production because we had one fridge and one freezer, and everything we made had to fit into that. I felt I was thrown into the deep end without a float and had no option but to swim. Everything came under my domain. I learned that the buck stops at me. In business, it doesn't matter who was responsible for a problem. If there was one, I had to apologize for it, and I had to set it right. Despite the many challenges we faced when we started, we became a success that I could never have predicted or even dared to dream of. Our motto was fairly simple. We wanted to create a good product at an honest price. Pricing is not an exact science, but it is an important factor to get right. It is impossible to please everybody, but enough customers must perceive value in your product and your service. Pricing will impact the perception of your brand, the quality you can and must deliver, and the ability to scale and grow your business. By nature, I like to please people. And so this has always been a motivational factor in driving the business forward. Often my sister has always told me that we are not in the business of making food. We are in the business of making people happy. I like to think that we serve smiles on a plate, but make no mistake, we work very hard for those smiles. After almost a decade in the business, we decided to expand outside our home city. Now, a lot of people told us not to do it as it would be a remote operation and we would lose control on our product and processes. The problem is that when people say no, I want to do exactly the opposite. And so, as a unit, we decided to proceed and we opened in a new city. For the first time in over a decade, we found ourselves in a completely new market, not knowing the trends and preferences. And so we had to invite people and give them reason to come through our doors again and again. The establishment of us being in another city gave us confidence. We took help from outside. We are now funded by private equity. The F&B industry has many examples of companies that get high valuations and are followed by disappointing performances. Many people congratulated me on the funding. But for us, it was just another phase of hard work. I thought that we were now employed to use this money with responsibility, and we had to use it carefully. And so we proceeded. I hope we have been we have been able to use that money carefully. I think we have. Anyway, so I also want to talk to you a little bit about the women in the industry. When I graduated from the OCLD, I was the only girl in class amongst 18 boys. Few women join the F&B industry because the hours are unsocial, the jobs are physically demanding, and the role models are a few. But things are changing. Things are improving. The obstacles are many, but it will take a lot of strength to be part of this change and not succumb to the environment. I want to tell as many women that are there in the audience and around the world that are inclined to join the F&B industry not to be afraid. Today, there are more women willing to work in my kitchens. There are more women setting up and running successful businesses every day. And there are more women that are role models for the new generation. So please do throw caution to the wind and do join the industry if you are so inclined. One of the most thought-provoking questions that I have been always asked is what is the most difficult phase or stage in the journey of creating your business? The truth is that every phase or stage has seemed the most difficult. The phase you are in now always seems the most daunting. Be prepared to face challenges head on. Running a business requires guts, it requires grit, focus, determination, and drive. Keep learning. Entrepreneurship is a marathon and not a sprint. It takes many, many hours, a lot of effort, and a lot of hard graft. Would I recommend that you all take this leap and branch out and do something on your own? I most certainly would, provided you all are doing it for the right reasons. Most people in employment dream of being their own boss, deciding what and when to do, deciding how much money to make for themselves. These are all true, by the way, but these are rights and responsibilities. And these privileges come with strings attached. You will work harder, you will work longer than you imagine. You will have to do the jobs you wish you could delegate to someone else. And you will struggle to find enough hours in the day to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Why do I still recommend you take this leap and start out on your own? It is because I am able to convert my passion into my job. I do what I love and I get paid to do so. Please be commercially aware. It is important that you love your job and you love your product, but your business must make a profit. One doesn't start a business only to make money, but if your business has to last, it is essential that it does. And as for me, I have a job with no job description. I have one job, and that is to get the job done. I call myself a chef, but in reality, I am whatever my business needs me to be. My life is simple, my business is simple. I try to promise less and deliver more. I don't always get it right. I've made many mistakes. But if I don't, I try and set it right. So dream big, follow your heart, enjoy what you do, for it is only then that you will find true satisfaction. Thank you for listening, and thank you for having me here.